Hi, everybody. Welcome into the broadcast. It's meteorologist Matt Wintz. Sunday evening. This is our time. This is our space, and we get to talk about some storm threat this week. In fact, there's going to be likely some kind of tornado. I don't want to say outbreak because it's still unsure how big of an event this is going to be, but there's going to be a lot of tornadoes tomorrow, and then there's going to be a lot on Tuesday, and there could be some left over on Wednesday from a system that's going to head across the plain states into the Great Lakes and then eventually in the northeastern half of the United States. It's going to turn extremely summer-like tomorrow around here. We're going to have gusty winds, temperatures getting up into the 80s tomorrow. We're going to have some humidity by tomorrow night as well. And all that will fuel the chance for some storms around here. Your Facebook feed's probably lighting up like a Christmas tree with everyone in their paint shop out, just circling red all over the region. So you click on all their stuff. I'm going to sort out if this is going to be a big deal or not for us locally. Okay, we'll talk about that here in the broadcast. First and foremost, we'll get through our sponsors, then we'll say our hellos as we let a couple other people join here. I know a lot of people in the middle of dinner at this hour. I get it. We just wrapped up, so I know it's a crucial time, so I don't want to waste your time. So we'll get through our sponsors. Again, all of our sponsors, not only do we love them, but we stand behind them. They're all 100% local to Northwest Indiana. We don't do any national sponsors or huge companies or anything like that. They're all great family-owned businesses. And again, if you need any of these services, please turn to them. They're all amazing. And again, we stand behind them 100% behind all the cool little niches that they fall into in terms of all their different little specialties and all that good stuff. Let's start with Great Lakes Lighting. When first impressions mean everything, make your home the envy of the neighborhood with expertly placed outdoor lighting to accent your home's architecture and all that landscaping you've been working on over the last couple of weeks. It also enhances safety and security. LightUpNWI.com is the place to go, or Great Lakes Lighting on Facebook. If you have a tree that needs removed, or maybe you have a tree that's not doing too well, and it's more of a hazard than anything else, we've got a team that is great at taking those things down, and they take safety, integrity, and pride and professionalism all very seriously with that. It's T&T Tree Service. They've been serving Northwest Indiana for years. Call today or visit ttreeservice.com. Again, 3 T's there, ttreeservice.com. Romans Roofing, if you guys are in need of a new roof this spring, nothing makes you feel better at night when it's hailing on your roof or raining or windy and you know that roof is secure and not leaking anywhere. If it's not sealed tight, they'll seal it right. I just made that up. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, Romans Roofing's been doing this for years. They are awesome. Their Facebook page is so, it's just so amazing. It's just, they are so creative for a group of roofers. They're just the coolest folks I know. They provide retail and storm restoration options for business, commercial, all that stuff, roofing, siding, windows, gutters. All inspections and estimates are free. RomansRoofing.net or 219-838-9111. EarlsHeating.com is the place to go if you need an AC tune-up this spring. We are going to be getting into some hot days around here. I'm going to show you the extended forecast. There's a lot of heat coming our way, even for this time of year. So if you need the AC tuned up, cleaned out, maybe it's not cooling like you want it to, make sure you call Earls or go to their website, earlsheating.com. They're the most trusted heating company in Schererville since 1976. They've been around serving Lake and Porter counties. Make sure you check them out if you get a chance. Kate Cusack for Ruoff Mortgage. If you're in the mortgage business, you know Kate Cusack. You know her name. She is one of the top, awesome, just most fun people to work with. Some of you have already used her and just love her to death. We had her do a broadcast with us back in the wintertime, and she was just fun. But anyway, if you're in the market for a new home or perhaps dream home or you're switching homes, whatever it happens to be, make sure you're ready to go. I just talked to a real estate agent yesterday at an event we went to. My daughter, we had a Girl Scout daddy-daughter dance. It was awesome. And one of the dads in our group was a real estate agent. I was just asking him about the market, and he was saying it's still very competitive. If you've been out of it for a while, you know, you've probably heard, but people are still, if you're not ready to buy a house that day, you're not getting it. That's still how it's going. Cash offers aren't always ruling nowadays. It's kind of backed off from that. But anyway, you still need to be ready to go within hours of viewing that home. Kate will get you there. Kate, her phone number is 219-775-6645, or you just go to Kate Cusack Home Loan Girl on Facebook. FBIbuildings.com, they do residential and commercial properties, and they do a great job in terms of pole barn construction. They renovate, they do new ones. Check out their Facebook page as well, FBIbuildings.com. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Valparaiso. Need a new car? Go to Grieger's. They've been serving the Northwest Indiana area for decades. Right there on US 30 in Valparaiso, Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. in Valpo. And TigerPlumbing.net, place to go if you need a plumber in the region. They've been serving us for a long time as well. I think they've been a sponsor for almost 3.5 years now, something like that. They're just tremendous folks. You can schedule online or on mobile. Take a picture of the problem. They'll come out for free, which is awesome. TigerPlumbing.net. And then 2 more for you. Public service adjusting. If you have an insurance claim, don't go to your insurance company first. Go to PSA. It's publicserviceadjusting.com. All local licensed insured adjusters. They'll come out, analyze the problem, take pictures. They'll do everything with your insurance company so you don't have to. And they'll get you more money than you normally get. Publicserviceadjusting.com. And finally, last but not least, Michael Minogue is just an awesome guy. For Minogue.life is the website. He is our expert in the world of Medicare, Medicaid, life insurance. A lot of you may have some kind of Medicare plan, but you don't know what it is, or you don't know what your benefits are, and maybe you're missing out on a lot, or maybe you're paying for a lot of stuff you don't need. He'll help you sort it out. He does a no-cost consultation. He'll sit down with you, chat it out, see what you need, see what you're getting, see what you're not using, and it really can end up saving you money in the long term in terms of getting those benefits, or maybe paying too much. Minogue.life is the place to go for that. All right, Mike, thanks for letting me get through those. Let's get to our early birds here. Mark, you were the first one on board. My goodness, I like your Facebook picture too. You've changed. Thanks for joining us. You were fast on that trigger tonight. Rhonda's with us. Mary's with us as well. Hi, Mary. Hi, Jeff. Good evening to you. Stephen, Angel's with us as well. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Don from Mayberry is with us. As always, great to have you on here. And what a beautiful day. Yeah, we were up near 70 degrees this afternoon, wall-to-wall sunshine. The sky is just so much bluer this time of year, and the sun angle's so much higher. I mean, we're getting to some of our highest sun angles of the year here as we enter the month of May into June and July, and you can certainly see that as well. Tom and Luisa are watching. Hi, guys. Deb's with us, ready for your brilliant weather take. Oh, don't push it, Debbie. It's not that great, but I appreciate that. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Kelly. Let's see. Stacy's with us as well. Julia says, ready to look forward to that forecast. All right, let's dive into the forecast. Joni says, put out the hummingbird feeder today. Makes sense, Joni. Yeah, we've been tracking those hummingbirds. They're in the area now. They have arrived, so they're hungry. They're ready to eat. So if you get your hummingbird feeders, time to go with that. And Orioles are on the doorstep as well. So if you have an Oriole feeder, I know we've got ours out. You put the grape jelly and you put orange slices if you want to get crazy about it. But those Orioles should be showing up anytime here soon. So there's that. And everyone seems to be into this bird migration thing. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there's like 1 billion birds. The birds migrate this time of year, but they tend to migrate when there's a system like this one out west that's pulling all this air north out of the Gulf, because they're just catching the jet stream, literally. So there's going to be a ton of birds migrating over us. A lot of them do that at night. And so it's good advice to turn your lights off outside so they don't like get confused or whatever it is. You know, they like to fly at night and do their thing. But anyway, lots of birds migrating over us over the next really couple days or so on the southerly flow. So there's been a lot of chatter on social around that as well. All right. What we're going to chat about here on social is this system coming in. I want to start with a satellite picture. You can see that big swirl out west, right over Salt Lake City right now. This is a pretty decent storm for this time of year in terms of the strength of the low in the western U.S. This is typically coming out of the snowy season for areas of the Rockies. They are getting some mountain snow with this. But more importantly, once this area of energy you see here gets out into the plain states, it's going to arrive in like Nebraska and South Dakota. So a little bit further north than what we've been seeing over the last couple months. As that jet stream shifts north, the warmer air is pushing further north as well. So does our storm track. But as this low emerges out in the plains, you can already see some storms developing. See these clouds right here where my mouse cursor is. Some robust thunderstorms already developing. Tomorrow is going to be the biggest day for severe weather with this out in the plains, the upper Midwest, the central portions of the plains as well. And then that all kind of gets into our neck of the woods. But you can see on satellite here, we had just a beautiful day today. Clear blue skies. Temperatures bounce back after a chilly Saturday around here. And that's what's so nice about this time of year, is that we bounce back quickly because that sun is strong and it warms us up so nicely. So we barely, if we have a chilly day, we're out of it before we know it. All right, here's your severe threat out in the plain states tonight. That's where we're already seeing storms, kind of a weird wiggle there, right? That's the outline location as that air hits that humidity. Once it gets, that Gulf of Mexico air, it just explodes. And that's what we're seeing out towards the west. But here's a concern, all right, tomorrow. Moderate risk, that's a 4 out of 5 across areas of Minnesota, Wisconsin, into northern Iowa. And then you've got the enhanced risk further south, and then a slight risk for a line that's expected to develop all the way down to OKC and even west of Dallas. For us here locally, we've seen this before, right? Big threat of storms west fades as it moves into the region, all right? So you kind of get the trend. Just from looking at it, you're like, okay, well, we know where the bullseye is. We know where it trails off, and we're kind of in between, meaning anything would be losing intensity as it comes in. We'll talk more on that in a second. Pretty good risk for tornadoes with this. There's just a ton of shear with this system, a lot of churning of wind with height. There's speed shear as well. All of that contributes to rotating thunderstorms. And when you have an atmosphere that has high CAPE that we're going to have, or energy, you get dew point levels, which are getting up into those late spring levels, into summer levels. There's some humidity with this system. All that combined with the jet stream that's going to be sweeping in, there's a lot of shear with this and a lot of potential for rotating thunderstorms to produce tornadoes. So there's your tornado risk. Notice how it drops off as it gets into the region. And then in terms of wind damage, there you go. And then in terms of hail damage, there's going to be a lot of hail from the system to our west, not necessarily here locally. But here's what I want to show you as we go on into Tuesday. Notice how the threat is now east of us. So if you are putting 2 and 2 together, things are fading as they move in, and then they're exploding again out towards the east. I was going to post this on Friday, but I wanted to get a couple more model runs in. But I had to hunch that this system was going to kind of jump over us, all right? That's what the models were starting to show on Friday. Saturday, it showed it as well. Today, they're still showing it. I don't want us to let our guard down on this system by any means, but these storms are going to explode in the plains tomorrow afternoon, all right? And then by the time they move in, it's going to be nighttime, and there's not really a direct hit from any of them, but any ones that are developed are going to be fading, all right, in terms of their strength, because it's nighttime, all right? And then that front's going to jump us Tuesday morning, which isn't really usually a good time for severe weather, right? And then that daytime heating will spark more storms east. So I'll show you what I mean. And the models have been really messy with this. It's kind of hard to see where the severe threat is with this. There are storms that develop, but it's not really a huge outbreak like you would see a huge line of storms or a bunch of supercells. I'll show you here, though, in the modeling. So let's jump through it. First things first, tonight, the wind's going to start to pick up out of the southeast. We'll have increasing clouds, so there's that. In terms of some of the increasing clouds off the system to the west, nothing really to worry about tonight. Just know that system's going to start to take hold on us tonight. And tomorrow, you're going to feel it. The wind is really going to pick up. The wind is going to be coming out of the southeast at first, but then it'll turn more southerly as the low approaches closer to the west. And the wind's going to pick up. We're talking gusts 30 to 40 tomorrow, and it's going to be pumping in some warmth. We're talking temperatures low 80s tomorrow. I could see maybe a mid 80 degree reading if things go well. We're looking at a real warm summer-like day tomorrow, and that humidity is going to be coming up hour by hour as well. So I'll show you all that here in a second. But notice, we're talking storm chances. We get storms out towards the north, and then we get storms out towards the northwest, all right? So that's kind of where the action is going to be, right there. That's where your big bullseye is tomorrow for that moderate risk. Up in areas of Minnesota, and then eastern Nebraska, can't rule them out, eastern South Dakota, and then getting into Iowa eventually. But this is the HRRR model. Remember, this isn't truth. It's just a model run. But it's bringing all those storms off towards the north. And now we're getting into Monday evening, and it's like, well, where are our storms? Where is our storm threat? Well, here's kind of where it is, and it's kind of a hidden threat here in terms of the modeling. So one of the things, remember a couple of weeks ago when we had the severe weather threat, and we were actually teaching about it, but about that cap in the atmosphere, the lid on the atmosphere. We're going to have a really good lid on our atmosphere tomorrow that's going to prevent storms from developing, all right? And that happens out ahead of big storm systems. You need lift, and there's nothing to punch that air up through into the area where it cools and it condenses and forms big cumulonimbus clouds. There's going to be a cap on that atmosphere, so there's nothing really to force it up. Once that front comes in, that front with that cold, dense air pushes that warm air up, because cold air is heavy and dense, warm air is lighter, and it lifts, right? So when you get cold, dense air moving in with a cold front, it displaces the warm air that was there, and it has to push it up. So that's why you get storms that develop along a cold front, right? Well, the cold front's not going to be here yet tomorrow, and that lid's still going to be on here. So we're not going to have any storms around during the day. There's a slight chance that early in the day, right in here with the warm front as it moves through, that there's enough lift to produce a brief storm in the morning tomorrow, all right? Doesn't look too likely, but there's a chance. But we've got the cap in place pretty much all day, and the result is that most of the modeling is indicating that cap doesn't break down, all right? That cap kind of holds, and that we won't see development despite the fact there's a front right here. There's not much development along it, all right? And I tend to be of that camp, all right, that we're going to hold off on these storms. And if we do, they would be weakening as they move in tomorrow night, all right? And that's what you're seeing here on the modeling. You're probably like, well, Matt, where's our severe threat coming from? It's from this area right here. If, however, that cap erodes in spots where something or some kind of storm is able to kind of penetrate that cap, get through it, get up into the cold air where it can condense and form a robust thunderstorm, if that happens, then that would be our threat tomorrow night. These would be a little bit stronger. The models aren't showing it or picking up on it. And again, I don't agree that that's going to happen. I tend to agree with the modeling on this one, but that's where the threat would be with this cold front coming in, where any of these storms could go bonanzas tomorrow, all right, tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. But as of right now, and as of the last 4 or 5 days, I see the system kind of jumping over us, as you'll see here in the forecast. And then here you go. This is Tuesday now, where the front is moving through. It's morning when it moves through, and there's not much development because of that cap. That cap would likely erode as that cold front comes in, right? Everything would be able to push through, but it's too little too late. And so that storm chance would then develop east of us. And I mean just east of us. Our southeastern counties, eastern counties, we'd have to keep an eye on it in terms of timing, but any storm threat would then be east of us. So here's the system as a whole in terms of what the HRRR develops with it. Big storms up in the northern plains. Remember, Iowa was in that bullseye too, and the HRRR doesn't have much developing where that bullseye is. And then you can see how nothing really gets going with this storm system. Let's look at the NAM-NEST. This is another high res. This has a little bit different of a solution. We stay dry all day tomorrow, warm and windy 80s, and then notice it develops storms a little further south, a little further east as well. These would all be at least the potential to be tornadic up in the northern plains, all right? There's tremendous amounts of shear. And then you can see it keeps this line from developing. This is the front right here. If there wasn't a lid on the atmosphere, these would go nuts, all right? But there is, and it kind of tames those storms a little bit. And then on Tuesday, we're now into Tuesday. See how everything develops east of us here, all right? And it just kind of skips over us. It just skips right over Northwest Indiana. Good place to be on the weather map. We don't need severe weather, all right? So that's kind of what we're looking at. I do want to show you some of the numbers on tomorrow just to let you know what kind of atmosphere we're getting into. Here are your temperatures tomorrow. Strong southwest wind, again, gusting 30 to 40, maybe higher than that at times. Should push us well into the 80s tomorrow. And then look at tomorrow night. We stay in the 70s all night, all right? It's going to be a summer-like night tomorrow night, and that would feel any of those storms coming in. Time frame on this, I forgot to mention that. Time frame for any storms here locally would be Monday night and Tuesday morning, all right? We would have to watch where they redevelop Tuesday afternoon, all right? I have a hunch it's going to be further off towards the east, but that time frame when that window of severe weather chance would be moving through would be Monday night, like overnight Monday night into Tuesday morning, all right? So that's what we're looking at in terms of timing of these severe storm, at least the potential, when the environment above us would be able to support that, okay? I am leaning, though, that this whole system kind of jumps us, all right? We'll have to keep a close eye on anything that develops west of us on Monday evening, Monday night, and then we'll watch it as it moves through. We'll keep our fingers crossed that nothing develops, and then as it heads east, you'll see more development on radar. So there's that, and that would happen Tuesday, all right? So again, just so you have my opinion on this, I feel like this whole system is going to kind of jump over us, but we're going to need to keep a very cautious eye when it's moving through and keep our fingers crossed that nothing explodes above us, all right? Kind of interesting, right? It's a very tricky system locally. Slam dunk in terms of severe weather, northern plains. Slam dunk in terms of severe weather potential out towards Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky. But for us here locally, with the system jumping over us, it's like, okay, everything's ready to go above us, but it's moving through without much fanfare. So something to keep an eye on. Just make sure you stay tuned to the forecast, but that's what I'm thinking now. And then in terms of dew points, let me show you that. We're dry right now. It's super comfortable. That's what made it such a beautiful day today. There's virtually no humidity around. That southeast wind, once it turns south tomorrow, we have rising humidity every hour. So we'll start comfortable tomorrow morning. We'll get into the 80s with low humidity. And then by afternoon and evening, there you go. Our dew point surging into the low 60s. That is a summer-like air mass. Not as humid as we get, but it's humid. Any dew point above 60, you can call it humid. It's air you're wearing, so to speak. And we will be turning humid around here tomorrow afternoon, especially tomorrow evening. You'll feel it. It'll feel thick and summer-like outside. And then tomorrow night is going to really feel like summer. I mentioned Earl's Heating and Air Conditioning service because you're going to want to have the AC on tomorrow night. I mean, our temperature is going to stay in the 70s. It's going to be humid outside. It's going to be uncomfortable to sleep without an air conditioner tomorrow. And then notice how the drier air comes in after that. All right. So that's a look at this system as a whole. Again, just as a recap, severe weather, northern plains tomorrow. It'll be a national story. There'll probably be severe weather ongoing all afternoon into the evening hours with tornadoes up there, at least potential for that. And then that would shift over us tomorrow night into Tuesday morning. And then it would shift east of us Tuesday during the day where we would be out of that threat. All right, where do we go from there? We have another down in the forecast, and then we've got another up in the forecast as well. And we've got more rain and even some thunderstorms returning later this week. So here's the system as a whole. Let me zoom in. I'll get you guys a little bit better look to this. Here's the system as a whole as it moves through. There's your storm threat tomorrow. Here's your storm threat. I mean, see, there are still storms on radar here. The high-risk stuff still needs to sort itself out here over the next couple runs. So stay tuned to that forecast, but that's what I've been leaning since Friday is that this thing kind of jumps us. So there's that. And then Tuesday, everything kind of redevelops east. We're cooler Tuesday night. We're cooler on Wednesday, but briefly. This low kind of heads east, and then we have a front that stalls down to our south. That front on Wednesday is going to collect more moisture, more thunderstorms. It's going to return as a warm front. And so you'll see this whole thing starts to come back at us with a slug of rainfall by Wednesday night. All right, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. So more rain around Wednesday night. Thursday, we're into the rain and storms around here. I don't see too big of a severe threat on Thursday. We could have some thunderstorms around, but in terms of severe threat, there's not a ton of dynamics with this system. Again, something I'll have to keep an eye on, but as of right now, I think it's just rain and thunderstorms on Thursday. And then by Friday, this system is still hanging around with showers. We've got a cool pocket of air now involved as this low's kind of pulled it in from Canada. And on Saturday, we're going to have another kind of cooler day around here. Can we get a warm Saturday? All right, it's been a while. It's going to be another cool Saturday. Not as cool as what we just got done with, though. We clear out Saturday afternoon. Sunday looks great again. And then next week, there's this interesting system in the plains where the low pressure swirls over like Denver for several days, and there'll be explosive severe weather in a real narrow ribbon. You can kind of see it there on the modeling for several days, like 2 or 3 days of severe weather in the same spots in the western areas of the plains there and the southern plains. And that just eventually will eject out into our area with some rainfall. This is kind of fantasy on the models. This is Thursday, May 8th, Thursday or Friday, May 9th. And notice how that low just kind of pinwheels around. It does look like the following weekend we're not as cool. All right, we might get a milder Saturday in here. All right, if you guys have questions about any of this, go ahead and throw it in the chat now. That way I can answer it once we're done with this. But the last thing I have, you can ask gardening questions too. Kathy, I see yours about the fertilizer. This just turned into a gardening segment. But anyway, temperatures here over the next 10, 15 days. Here's our little warm spell. I've got us at like 82, 83 tomorrow, 78 or so on Tuesday. A little bit cooler Wednesday. The front returns. We warm back up into the 70s on Thursday. And then, again, this is a model, so it doesn't mean it's truth, but this is what the Euro's doing. It does cool us down Friday, Saturday into the 60s. Nothing too bad. And then we're right back up to some warmth next week out ahead of that spiraling system in Denver that comes out. That'll pump some warmer air in here. So if you remember last Sunday during our Region Weather Live, we were looking at our severe threat, right? The severe threat for Tuesday, or Monday, tomorrow, into tomorrow night and Tuesday. We saw that coming, but I was looking long term, and it looked like a cool spell was coming our way where I said, hey, let's not get the annuals in the ground quite yet, all right? And we usually wait till Mother's Day, week before Mother's Day, till we're safe. But it's interesting, right after we did that, on Monday, the models flipped long term to warmer, and they've kind of stayed that way. And so you see where we're going with this. Yeah, we've got some cool days this weekend, In terms of frost risk, we may have some isolated patchy frost around here Saturday night into Sunday morning. Right now, the models are coming in a little bit too warm for that, but it's a time frame we'll have to keep an eye on. And then next week, we look frost-free, which is good. And I would say the week beyond that, that's when we can get the stuff in the ground. But if next week continues to look mild like this, we may be able to, by next Sunday or so, start putting some annuals in the ground, right? Bringing that color to the garden and stuff like that. So just an FYI for all the gardener friends out there, there's a bit of a frost risk this weekend we'll have to keep our eye on, but the models have continued to moderate this weekend a little bit. It was looking a lot cooler even a couple days ago. So don't sleep on this weekend yet, but in terms of the forecast, pretty mild next week. All right, let's answer your questions, and then we'll let's see, Missy says, need 80 degrees in an open pool. Missy, those pools, I'm telling you, we're not far off. We're not far off from opening those things up. It's interesting because we have, we're cheap. We don't have like an in-ground pool or anything. We have a pool that you set up every year, and then we have to get it filled with water. Like a big truck comes and fills it with water. And I always want to get that very first day so we can maximize warming, where the temperature outside is always going to be warmer than the water. It's such a science thing. And I'm always trying to predict when that is. That day's coming soon. We're not quite there yet, but anyway, I'm just excited for that stuff to start warming up. Savannah asked, could the lack of weather balloon launches cause discrepancy in the modeling? Savannah, that's real interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weather balloons that aren't getting launched that were before, all right? There's still plenty, and there's still enough to get a good sampling of what's going on in the country, but it certainly could. And I don't think, Savannah, really anyone knows the answer to that because our job is to take what the models say and twist it in a way that makes sense in terms of like our forecasting experience, right? It's not always right. A lot of this stuff isn't right. And and this is kind of how I explained it. I did a post on Saturday about our 7-day forecast. I always go back and I check our forecast for the week and I say, okay, where was I off? Where can we make changes? Where did we win and stuff like that? And in terms of the weather balloon launches and kind of our job is to take the modeling and make it as consistent as possible for you with the 7-day rather than the ups and downs that the models give us. And I hope you see that in the 7-day that we put out on Mondays. It's consistent, all right? There's no big changes. If a model changes on Wednesday, and does 10 degrees higher, we'll stay the course with whatever we put usually the first day, and usually the models will come back to that. That's why your phone apps are so jumpy. But that being said, with the weather balloon issue, we're already looking at data that's not right. And so I can't tell as a meteorologist, at least personally, if it's less right than it was before. We'll see. We really will. But it's all the cuts and all that stuff, Savannah, to National Weather Service and all that. It's got to have an effect at some point. Is it an effect that affects everyone else? That still remains to be seen, for sure. Donna says she needs to mow tomorrow. Donna, you can mow tomorrow. Tomorrow's a great day to mow. Pollen's starting to sneak up. Tree pollen's there as the trees get going, but grass pollen will be shortly behind. Usually once we get to mid and late May, that's when the grass goes to seed. And so that's what most people are allergic to, is once that grass gets to that level. It's not there yet. It takes its time. So grass pollen's still on the lower side. But boy, that tree pollen, any tree pollen sufferers out there? Because I've several people I know have, that going on right now. I'm a grass pollen person, but we're getting there for sure. Donna, you're welcome. I hope those storms are weak too. We just need them to jump over us. That would be great. Mark said, had some dirty rain again the other day. Are we due anytime soon? Black vehicles definitely show it. Yeah, they do, Mark. Yeah, there was another area of dust down in areas of Texas and the southern plains with that last storm system. This one may kick up some dust as well. It hasn't, at least what I've seen yet, but as it comes out of areas like Utah right now, it'll get more in the northern plains, but there could be a gust front on the southern end of that. So we may have some more dirty rain with that as it kicks up dust, goes into those thunderstorms and plants that on us. Although our storms are not necessarily going to be coming from Texas this time. They're going to be more from the west-northwest. So that would prevent any of that real thick stuff from reaching us. But still, I have a feeling we're going to be doing back and forth on this for a while. Gail asks, are we going to have a hot summer? Gail, it's looking like an average summer in my mind in terms of everything. I mean, average can still be hot, but in terms of, way above average or off the charts warm, the thing that I like to see is that we're taking care of that drought out towards our west. So there's been a really good drought in the Corn Belt that this rain and even this pattern tomorrow, the pattern later this week is going to continue to put rain on areas that desperately need it out towards our west. It's been too much of a good thing in the Ohio Valley down towards Mississippi River Valley, but out west, we're taking care of that drought. And so as we continue to bring more moisture in, remember, wet soil does not heat up as fast as dry soil is. So if we have an expansive area of dry soil from a drought, that can heat up fast, and that heat comes right at us, all right? We can get some really hot summers if we're in a drought or if there's a drought out towards our west, and we're taking care of that. That wet soil takes a while to heat up. Problem is, when you have wet soil, it produces a lot more humidity, so you have a more humid summer as well. Plus, El Nino, La Nina, still kind of neutral right now, and so, that's not going to impact us. So I'm looking at a fairly average summer around here, temperature-wise, but that does mean hot. I mean, it gets hot around here, right? But in terms of anything blockbuster, I'm not seeing that right now. Maxwell says some forecasters are calling for a dry May with a big ridge forming. What are your thoughts on it? I've seen the chatter on that, Maxwell. To be honest, I haven't done, how I feel about long-term forecasts. I'm trying to nail the 10 to 15-day forecast range rather than the entire month of May. I've read some of the research on that people are putting out, and I do agree with what they're saying about the ridge developing, which would take storm systems up and over, and it would lead to a cooler northeastern U.S. for May. But we'll see. I mean, if we get into a pattern, a lot of times we'll call some folks that do the long range forecasting will call for a certain pattern for a month and a half or so, and then we get some kind of blocking ridge out towards the east. You get some kind of cutoff low, and it changes all that. It ruins the whole pattern, and you're stuck with 4 or 5 days of a pattern that you weren't supposed to be getting into. So it remains to be seen. But I'm glad you bring that up. I appreciate that. But I'm Savannah. You're welcome as well. But that's not. I'm not going to get into what May is going to look like, just because we could say what it's going to look like, and then it's just going to change. All right. No one goes back and checks the accuracy of these things. So that's that. Sharon, you're welcome. Yep. Gail, you're welcome as well. All right. Pearl just popped on. You're welcome, Pearl. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. All right. I think that's all I've got. If that's all you guys have in terms of the forecast, again, we're going to keep a close eye on it. Just to recap kind of what we're looking at with the severe threat. Here's the severe threat tomorrow. All right. It's well west of us. This is a very high shear environment up here with these storms tomorrow in Minnesota, Iowa, and then Wisconsin. And then this all shifts out towards the east on Tuesday. So everything kind of moves in as it fades, and then it redevelops east of us. So hopefully the system will jump over us. It's not going to be a big deal locally. But remember, our atmosphere Monday evening through Tuesday morning, as it goes over us, is going to be conducive to support big thunderstorms. But it's not showing up on the modeling right now because it's got a nice cap in place, and I hope that holds, all right? That's what I'm going with right now, is that we have a very limited severe risk around here Monday night. But again, we're going to keep a close eye on it. So don't let this be the last forecast you see. Okay? All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful night. We'll be with you. Happy spring, everybody. We are there. I feel like we finally made it out of winter, finally, especially after Saturday. Saturday's just cold. I'm sorry. 40s and 50s, it's not good anymore, right? We can do better than that. Our average high, by the way, is up to 67 degrees. That is our midpoint right now. So we could easily do 80s. We could easily do 50s as well. So there's that. All right. All right. Thanks for spending time with me. Again, catch us on the radio side of things, XRock 103.9, Indiana 105.5, Z 107.1. And we'll keep you updated all day tomorrow on that severe threat through tomorrow night. Okay.